Do you believe that you're exactly where you're supposed to be? Well, I do. And today, I believe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So this is going to be one heck of an adventure. My name is Gabriel Greiss, the host of Navigating Leaders, where you awaken your vision and live boldly. Today, I have the honor of having a guest host to the Navigating Leaders podcast, Daniel Hopkins. And today, he's going to be interviewing me. So welcome to the podcast, Daniel.
Man, Gabriel, thank you for having me. Great to be on Navigating Leaders. And it's kind of cool that you wanted to turn the tables and you invited me along to do it. So what I'd really like to do is get into your story, kind of get to know you. Hopefully the audience can kind of catch on to some of the things you're saying and have an understanding of why, the why behind what you do. So,
well, first, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for accepting it. And sounds like fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to kick it right off. I know that you have a military background, right? And a lot of times when I think of a military background, I think this guy's going to be highly regimented. He's got a routine. He starts his day at 4:49 but what does that look like for you? Are you regimented? And what are some daily practices, spiritual, physical, mental, that you do every day? And what kind of effect has that had on your life?
Wow. So seasonal, right?
Seasonal,
I go in and out of seasons of it, right? So sometimes highly regimented, sometimes not.
Okay.
I've got to admit that I let the external circumstances of life sometimes dictate my way of being, like, school and kids and morning and job and all that stuff. But I do have a few that I'm very committed to. So I love YouVersion, the Bible app. So before my feet hit the floor in the morning, I open that up and look at the verse of the day. And I've gotten up to about 197 days in a row before I miss one. And then it's like, oh, you go back to one. They did actually just offer a new change to it where you can reset your number, like say, oops, and then keep your streak going.
I've had that happen on my Bible reading plan. I'm on year 3 of my 1-year Bible reading plan. So yeah, I understand that.
So I've not used the reset, the do-over button. I'm like, no, I think it's cleaner, because I would always live with a little bit of doubt, like, yeah, I'm at 577, except for that one day that I missed, and then I'd feel
the asterisk next.
Yeah, so I don't need the Mark McGwire home run record. But yeah, so I think that's a huge one for me, is to just have that one little verse to meditate on throughout the day. I try and do some stretching every day. I do stretching, some deep squats and a lot of just hip and arm and leg stretches. I love yoga. So I would say I do like little mini yoga sessions at home every day when I can't get to the studio. It's interesting about fitness as you age, right? So now I'm much more into the functional aspect and a little bit less about how you look or how I look. And then time with my wife, time with my kids. It's really interesting in the morning to try and be present. So my alarm goes off at 5:05, and I can say, winning this week, every day the alarm went off, I got out of bed when my alarm went off versus hitting snooze. And that actually was a really cool thing this week. I had been scheduling in, an extra, 1 or 2 snoozes. And this week, for whatever reason, I just committed that I was going to get out of bed, and I did. And I can feel the difference. Right.
What difference does that make, putting all these things into practice? Or was there ever a time when you were more lax about it and you could feel, man, I don't feel great, or this isn't great for me, this isn't working?
Yeah, I think the whole burning the candle at both ends kind of thing, running so fast, not filling myself up. There's a priority that I live my life by now that I didn't live my life by before, which is God's self, spouse, kids, mission, currency. right? So it's not equal weight of time,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's equal weight of importance. And so when two things come in conflict with one another, you defer to the higher precedent or the higher thing in the ranking.
Sure.
And so again, starting with a Bible verse, being present with my wife and spouse. And there were times when my life wasn't, well, I won't say it wasn't balanced. I'd say it was out of control.
Mm-hmm.
My priorities were off. My idols were strong. My faith was dormant. Probably be a better word, the best word for it. It was always there, and God is infinite and always there and present, just waiting on me or waiting on you to open the door.
Sure. So I want to get into that too a little bit later in the podcast. I have a few questions about that. But really, here's something that strikes me because I'm just getting to know you, and I think you're a really interesting guy. And I can see you're a magnetic guy. People are drawn to you, and I want to know why. First of all, do you see that, and why do you think that is?
Well, first, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a very kind thing to say. I think there's elements of it, right? I live, my memory is really bizarre. Like I don't really remember a lot. And so I'm very present. And so I say a lot of things to people that I think catches them off guard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be very meaningful and very impactful because people come up and said that to me in the aftermath. Like, remember when you said that thing? I'm like, no, but I'm glad it was meaningful. And I also seek to be very authentic because my memory isn't the best, right? So I can't remember everything I said, so I better be authentic. So if somebody says something to me that sounds out of alignment, I'd be like, I don't think that was how it went down, right? 'Cause it just doesn't feel right.
Sure.
So, but I think the magnetic piece I can see, but I can also see that at times it was not for good. Right.
Tell me about that. What do you mean?
Well, my first assignment in the Air Force, I was in Tokyo, and I arguably spent more time in the bars than I spent flying airplanes. And to the point where crews from other bases would get my phone number. When they'd land in Tokyo, I'd get random phone calls, and they'd be like, "Hey, are you going downtown?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, I'll pick you up. Let's go. Right. Like that was my reputation.
You were the wingman,
I was the lead. I was the lead ready to take on wingmen and so I was probably leading people down a primrose path they didn't need to be on. And I certainly didn't need to be on, but it led me to where we are today. So,
So you were magnetic in a negative way, and now it's a totally different experience. Do you feel like there is a responsibility do you feel a responsibility with that magnetism that people are coming to me? I need to be a certain way or do certain things. Do you feel that way?
I hear what you're saying. Some, right? Where I am right now is in obedience, right? And so my wife and I, Christy, we're having a lot of fun just doing what we're told. And, we've come up with a thing that's pretty interesting, and that is, if it's from God, it's probably not going to make sense. And so if I can logic my way to it, then it's probably of me or of the devil, right? If I can walk the path to, this makes great sense. Well, then it's probably not God.
Sure.
Right. Because he's not going to have me do stuff that's in my comfort zone or do things necessarily that I can truly figure out. Right. If he's speaking into me. Now, if he's spoken into me and I'm now being obedient and following it, then it should make sense because I'm making those steps that towards the destination or the goal or the thing that I've been asked to do.
Can you tell me about a time that something didn't make sense?
Didn't make sense?
And you felt the need to obey and you did?
Well, I mean, like right now I'm in a lawsuit over a land deal. I don't have to get into all the details other than I sold some land in Texas and the current buyer is surprised at our mineral rights, right? They're not from Texas, and they're like, you don't understand mineral rights, so they're upset, and I'm certain it's all going to work out, and we disclose the things we need to do, and mineral rights are a big thing in Texas, and there's oil tanks on the corner of the property and oil wells on both sides of it, and there's a sign on the fence that says, this is the phone number for the drilling company. I don't have the oil rights, right? And so we could have been really aggressive about it. We could have been very hurt about it. We could have been very defensive about it. And where we've settled on this is the lawsuit's not about us, right? It's a mechanism for somebody else to learn or do something. And so we get to just be obedient and stay in the walk and let this thing play out. And so we're sort of if you think about somebody practicing tennis, you go to a tennis court and there's that wall where they play singles tennis, right? Well, we're the board the ball's bouncing off of, right? It's like, I'm not playing, I'm not returning it, but I need to be there for this person to get their practice in or to get their learning in. And so there are times like that where you're like, this just doesn't, like, we did everything right. We did what we were supposed to. And here we are in this uncomfortable situation. And so you kind of ask yourself why, and then you're like, well, I don't have to know why. I just get to be in faith and be present and calm and kind and, love, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, right? I mean, like, just be a good person and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then find the resources to handle it and again, move on. But it's not worth getting bent out of shape over.
See, something like that, I think, would make the average person get really bent out of shape and really stressed out and upset, but you're handling that with a very calm demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to come. What is that? What do you attribute that to?
Prayer. Like we prayed about it getting into it. We pray over it every day. We're praying through it. Like it just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a thing, and in our book, The Results Tree, we talk about events are neutral. Right. So something happens, and then as people, we will interpret it and attach value to it. Right. In the same event, 10 different people can attach different value to it, or none at all. Right. I tell a story about a Chinese farmer who goes through these various events, and one of his neighbors walks by, and every day he's like, "Oh, you're so lucky," and the next day something bad happens. Like, "Oh, you're so unlucky. You're so lucky. You're so unlucky." And every time the Chinese farmer responds with, "We'll see." Meaning we don't know what tomorrow will bring. We don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what's next. And so in this lawsuit, we'll see. Mm-hmm. Where I'm sitting, the data I have, the seat I'm in, the effort we took to get here, the prayer that surrounds it, the resources that got us into it, like all of that's from God and a gift from God. And so there's a lesson to be learned for us, for everybody involved. And, frankly, I'm being tested in ways, right? So we'll see, right?
We'll see.
More to follow.
Like the farmer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to talk a little bit about your book, The Results Tree.
Okay.
I think it's a great book.
Thank you.
First of all, I love how early in the book you talk about times that you have you either almost blew it or you did blow it.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it interesting to look back on all the maybe some people might call them failures,
mm-hmm.
but here you are today, better for them. How did you bounce back from some of those really difficult, challenging times? And how did you allow those things to shape you?
Wow. Well, bouncing back was partly why I think I did it, which is really weird, perverse, and subconscious, is that if I've risen to a level and then I sabotage myself and go down, well, to get back to the level I was at, I've already covered that ground. That's easy, right? So now you can leap or bound or prance or pirouette or whatever your way back to that same level. And there's really no effort because it's muscle memory, right? If you're an athlete and you haven't been in your sport for a while, but show back up, it's like pretty quick it comes back, right?
It's like riding a bike.
Exactly, right? And so to return to those levels after sabotaging myself was easy, right? You know, and we've talked about it before, and the sabotaging piece came from, I just didn't love myself. Right. And that was a really, really hard awakening to face. But my life really is, I mean, that is a watershed moment of before and after. Because the moment I realized that, I was then able to make different decisions and choices. Right. But before that, I was totally subconscious and unconscious to it. And so the sabotage I perpetrated on myself was because I didn't love myself, because I found myself to be unworthy, and nobody else was holding me accountable. And so I'm like, okay. And instead of being a responsible man and choosing differently, you know, I was the boy who's like, well, what tantrum can I throw today that will unwind this thing, that finally somebody's going to send me to the principal's office, right? Or sit me in the corner,
Sure,
and put me in timeout.
but so the moment where you went from not realizing you didn't love yourself to realizing it, that was a watershed moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was a key moment of transformation for you. I think a lot of people have these moments of transformation, but they don't put anything into place to move on from there, to keep from going back to the status quo of their lives before. So what did you put into place at that moment to build off of that and to grow?
So you kind of started with daily practices.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment in time when this awakening happened for me, I went into a big series of daily practices, and very regimented, very methodical, very militaristic, right? I developed a score sheet and a PowerPoint, and I had all sorts of fun gee whiz things to help me with it, you know, and things like 15 minutes of reading, 50 sit-ups and push-ups, a run, prayer, meditation, journaling, diet, you know, like all the domains that I knew I needed work or an opportunity to improve in or to restore balance or harmony or health in. And I was very, very regimented and authentic and tracked that. I scored it, right, over a week, and then reset on set goals on that Sunday for the next week, and then scored myself on it. And so that really helped. I was nowhere near perfect, but each time I started again. And so that went on for a good 6 months. And I attribute that journey as well to then how I meet my wife.
I was going to ask you, was this before or after?
No, it's all before. It's all before. And I was barely housebroken when she got me, right? We literally just got a new kitty yesterday, a 4-month-old kitty yesterday named Sushi, right? And so I'm probably that semi-wild, barely housebroken, like ball of clay that she's like, I think there's something in here I can work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What in the world made her take a chance on a guy who was barely housebroken, like you just said?
Well, I'd spent 6 months really taking myself on, right? And so I could see not the destination, but I could see the future, right? Like I could see now where behaviors, people, habits, thoughts, patterns hadn't served me. And I was in the process of redefining my relationship with those things and improving them, right? And so, and I continue to work on those elements, right? And so I think she could see and hear from me that I didn't view myself as a finished product, right? And I think that's a very attractive place, because first there has to be self-awareness and understanding, like I am here today, my results are, and I evaluate my results, which is the book, right? So my results are this, I've created this, mm-hmm. right? And this may not be my vision or what I really want in my life, but at least I know where I'm at. right? So there's the line, I'm going to mess it up, but you'll get the gist of it. But there's the line in Alice in Wonderland when Alice asks the Cheshire Cat, she's like, she basically is asking for directions, or she asks, "Where am I?" or "Where am I going?" Right? And the Cheshire Cat's like, "Well, where do you want to go?" Right? And she's like, "Well, I don't know." And then he's basically like, "Well, it doesn't really matter where you are then.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know where you want to go, then why does it matter where you are?" Right? And so any self-discovery journey of growth has to begin with an inventory of where am I? Where am I spiritually? Where am I in my physical health? Where am I in how I care for myself? Where am I at in my finances? Where am I at in my friendships? What friendships are toxic and need to go away? Right? What family is toxic and needs to go away? Right? Like there's all this real truth telling that then from that inventory, I can chart a course that's different. Right. So you discussed a point where people have these life-changing events, near-death experiences or whatever, but they end up back in the same rut. Right. Well, that awakening then comes with the responsibility of what's going to be different. Right. And choosing differently. And I think that's probably that's the key. That's the Rosetta Stone. That's the secret key, right? Is choice. Right. God gave us free will. Eve exercised it with the apple and the snake and the tree, right? Adam did too, right? So all day long we are going through choices, right? And those choices open and close doors, open and close relationships, open and close opportunities, right? How we met, how we got sitting here today was a door and we walked through it. We could have closed that door, but I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we're here.
Mm-hmm. I've heard you say you're exactly where you need to be, or you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Yeah. What would you say to that when you, maybe somebody wakes up and they find themselves where you were before, kind of a mess, not housebroken yet.
Yep.
What would you say to somebody who's there and, on the one hand, they're exactly where they need to be, but on the other hand, they have a destination. They need to get somewhere. They need to get out of there. So how do you square those two things around that idea?
Well, the first thing is you got to be kind and graceful to yourself, right? Like you can't fix your past. Your past is prelude to your future, right? It just is, right? It's there, it's gone, it's in the past. The only thing we have is this present moment, not even the future moment, right? Like all that exists is you and I sitting here at this table right now. And so when people find themselves in that situation, it's awareness. It's a wake-up call. It's there can be some sadness and some sorrow and some lament. And there can also be hope that with a choice, tomorrow will be different. And that's the key, right? Is that I am not a victim to my circumstance. I'm not a victim to my past. I'm not a victim to my parents, to my social economic status, to my education, to my fitness, to you pick the variable. I'm not a victim to it. Now I can play the victim and I'd be like, oh no, and ask for pity. And there's lots of people who will give it to you, right? Because they want you to buy their victim story, right? So if we hang out as victim together, we can both be happy being stuck right here together, right?
Right. That's not healthy at all in the end.
But that's frankly, at some level and in some domains, that's probably how all relationships are, right? If you look at your life, you and your wife, right? You look at your life, there are probably domains where you hold each other to a really high standard and maybe a couple where you're not so high.
Definitely.
Right? And so that's the piece, right? Is it's like being with people who will speak into and help you be held accountable to what you say you want to create in your life, right? And when I see what you want to hear, what you want to create, and then we look at the results, right? The fruit on your tree is we're like, is this it? And we both can be like, no. All right. So what do we need to do? We get back to your vision. We set goals that are grounded in your vision and have a clear intention of achieving them. And then we agree, right, to hold each other accountable, to be in that journey together. And then we set out and committed action, right? And that action may take a few weeks, right? I may need to drop a couple pounds before a trip to Europe or something, right?
Never heard of such a thing.
No, never. Or it may be, a journey for 4 or 5 years to build a business with an exit designed after that. And then we look at the results and we reset. It's this continual loop, right? It's a mirror. The results are a mirror for you. And so for that person who's where they maybe don't want to be, well, it is what it is. You are there. Take a deep breath. And frankly, generally it could be worse.
Oh, that's great.
Right? Could be worse. You could be in a worse place.
Yeah.
So pat yourself on the back that it's not worse and you can start where you're at.
And it all goes back to what you said, vision, taking responsibility, making choices and taking action. So yeah, that's great. And before we started this recording, I told a story of I need to drop a few pounds before I take a trip. So yeah, he's calling me out. Just that. Yeah.
I'm helping.
He's helping. Yeah. Helping me take responsibility.
I've got a few to drop too.
So, okay. I want to talk about your family. I know you have an interesting story of meeting your wife. We just talked a little bit about it, but, man, when you met your wife, you really just laid it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And can you talk about that and give a little context of who you were, who she was at that time? And
sure. So there's like this 6-month period in 08 from basically May to October of 08 where, May of 08 was when I decided I didn't love myself. And October 08 is when I met my wife. And so those ensuing months, so what, May, June, July, August, September, October, 6, cool. Were really deep work into me, right? And so I was doing a bunch of emotional intelligence training out in Las Vegas and had been taking myself on. I had a great support team, a great group of coaches, my dear friend Stacy James, who's got a phenomenal nonprofit called Dazzle Africa, where they do a lot of poaching prevention stuff in Zambia and drill wells and do all this stuff. She was my coach. Beautiful, powerful, inspiring, and gentle and kind. Like it was really next to my mom was one of the first times I'd seen so many of those amazing traits come together, right? And somebody that also had then the courage to hold me in an accountable way without worrying what I thought about her, right? And sometimes I think when we're in those relationships and we want to hold somebody accountable or we want to invest in them, we're like, but what will they think? Mm-hmm. Right? We don't want to be thought less than.
Well, what was the time that she did that? Do you have
the example? Whole time. Yeah, there's so many times, but there was an opportunity where I was having some conversations with my parents. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I needed to be honest and vulnerable with my parents. And so I call my folks and I share with them, and then I hang up and I call Stacy and I debrief with her, and she's like, well, she basically kept asking this question: who weren't you, and where didn't you go? Like in what way weren't you vulnerable, or in what way weren't you fully honest? I'm like, well, I could have said this or I could have done that. She's like, call them back. So I call my parents back and I reset the conversation and I go in and I'm honest and transparent more, but not fully.
Oh.
So I hang up, I call Stacy, and she's like, who weren't you and where didn't you go? Right. And so then I call my parents back 5 times. This goes on in a Saturday. Right. I call debrief with Stacy. She says, call your parents back. I call debrief like 5 times. So you got to imagine my mom picking up the phone the 5th time. Hi, honey. Mom, can I clear off? Can I start this conversation over? Sure, honey. Right. Imagine receiving these phone calls.
What is it this time?
Like, why are you keep calling? Right. I can only imagine. Right. And so at the end of it though, I call Stacy back and she's like, who weren't you and where didn't you go? And I'm like, that was it. I laid it all out. She's like, great, bye. And so the point was that I needed to be fully vulnerable, fully authentic, fully transparent, fully courageous, all those things. It wasn't about the result. I can't control that result, how my parents respond or whatever the conversation is, but I do get to control how I show up. And that was the test, is would I be completely vulnerable and honest with my parents? And I was.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
But you asked me about my wife.
I did. I want to know how you met her, I know it was a Hail Mary. To me,
the whole thing.
You told the story and it sounds like a Hail Mary. And
well, I didn't tell you about when she tried to break up with me.
Okay, tell me. Tell me, set it up and tell me the rest of it.
Yeah. So, I'm flying back from my first trip to Vegas on a Sunday night, and I meet this lady and her boyfriend, Lisa and Chris. They're now married with 3 beautiful girls, really good friends of ours, and we become friends on the flight from Vegas to San Jose, and I'm going to be returning to Vegas probably every 2 weeks or so for nearly 6 months to continue this training, this work I was doing. And they're like, well, why don't you park at our apartment? Because they lived right next to the airport, and we'll just drive you over and drop you off so you can save the parking, right? You know, it sounds like $40 a day or whatever for 2 or 3 days. It's like $100 a week. So they probably saved me, I don't know, a couple $1,000s, which is a lot of money.
Sure.
And so through that pickup drop off pre-Uber, right? We developed a relationship. And so as I'm going through this training and this program, I go through 90 days of intense leadership and goal setting and accountability and achieving. And then I go through and I coach and lead a team through this. And it's October 19th, and we're kind of wrapping up. It's a Sunday. We're wrapping up the weekend. And Stacy, my coach, comes over to me and says, tomorrow by noon, send me a description of your perfect woman. And I'm like, I've graduated from this stuff. And my mind is what I say, right? And what comes out of my mouth as a good military man is, yes, ma'am, right? Like, I'll do it, right? So I accept that noon tomorrow, I'm going to send a description of my perfect woman. And so I get on the flight back to San Jose on Monday morning, and I land, and I've got some extra time. And so I meet with Chris and Lisa, and we go to Santana Row, which is there in San Jose, and we're having a cup of coffee. And it dawns on me that I need to send this description of my perfect woman. And I'm like, ugh. And so I send Stacy a note and I go, hey, can I get an extension till 8? Because I got to drive back to Monterey. I got a couple classes, want to eat dinner. I need a workout. And it'd be nice to put a little thought into this mythical, magical creature that I'm going to describe. And she says, no. She says, no, send it to me now. And so now I'm a little bit of a huff. And so I grab my BlackBerry, the one with the QWERTY keyboard.
Yep.
You know, it's, I don't know, about the size of a pack of cards and plus a little bit wider. And I'm typing away, and I type this message of what my perfect woman looks like, and I hit send. And I got a little spice on it as I hit send. I'm like, there you go, right? And then I look at Lisa. Chris had to go to work, and so I'm sitting with Lisa, and we're sitting outside, and I said, hey, do you want to hear the description of my perfect woman? And she said, yes. And I was reaching under the table looking for my wallet, and it's out in the green room, and because I keep a card in my wallet that describes what I wrote, and I'll try and paraphrase it now, and it says 5'10", blonde, gorgeous, loves me, gets me. Loving, kind, present, balanced in all capital letters, transformation, politically active, and that's a few other awesome adjectives. And it ends with loving. How's that for a start? And Lisa, the girl I'd met on a flight 6 months prior, flying back from San Jose as I was working through this training, and it's been helping me park my car and drive me to the airport for these 6 months, says without missing a beat, oh, that's my best friend, Christy. So on October 20th, 2008, I called. Well, this is great for ladies out there. Listen, for ladies, listen, men, listen. So I told Lisa, well, have her call me. So Lisa goes home and she calls Christy, and Christy gets on Facebook and looks at my profile. Like, this is when Facebook basically first started, not MySpace, right? And to hear Christy say it, she's like, "Oh, he's adorable, like I'm a pet." and Lisa's like, well, he wants you to call him. And Christy's like, "I don't call men."
It's pretty bold for you to want her to call.
Well, I just, I don't know who this person is. And I'm like, sure, this is my dream woman, right? You're like,
we've all been on a blind date.
Yeah. I'm just like, just have her call me. And Lisa's like, "But he wants to talk to you." And she's like, "Oh, I don't call men." So then Lisa calls me and says, and I called Christy. "Oh, what'd she say?" She's like, "She doesn't call men." And I'm like, "Huh?" And she's like, "She doesn't call men." And I'm like, "Oh, can I have her number?" So Lisa hangs up and calls Christy back and goes, "He wants your number. Can I give it to him?" And she's like, "Okay." So then Lisa calls me and gives me her number, and I call Christy, and literally 15 minutes into the phone call, I'm like, "I am done. I am off the market. This is the one." Like, which really freaks me out because I'm like 35 and a lifelong bachelor at that point, and I'm like, "Whoa, this is not how I expected this to go."
Your lifestyle was not conducive to being off the market at that point.
No. And Christy taught me that in numerous ways during the early part of our courtship, leading up to the time she tried to break up with me. And then we left breaking up going steady, which surprised both of us. But yeah. So I called her on October 20th, 2008.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you're with her. 2008. That's
so we're entering our 17th year together. So we've been married 16.
Wow. So that's amazing. Okay. One last thing I really want to ask you about before we move on. You've made some bold moves. You just told me about some bold moves that you made, getting your wife. You also ran for California State Senate in 2016, right?
Yep.
Now, you're not a senator.
I am not.
So we can infer that didn't work out.
Well, it did work out, but I didn't win at the ballot box.
Well, yeah. Tell me about that. So some people would call that a failure. Well, what do you call it? How do you think back on that?
Well, the first thing I'd say is anybody who's interested in running for office, do. Like, you don't lose running. You may not win at the ballot box, but your connection to your community, your understanding of what people are going through, the network you build, it is a testament of your character, right? So you may have some things to clean up before you want to throw your hat in the ring, because who you be will show up. But if you have a heart of service, then follow your heart of service. So I'll just leave that as a little public service announcement.
The more you know.
Yeah. So for me though, I had always had a heart of service, like ever since I was a kid, like age 7. And as I was retiring from the Air Force, there was an open Senate seat. Like, it was the lady who had been the senator, their term limits in California, so she was terming out. And it just seemed like a divine appointment, right? It just seemed to line up. And so we stepped into the arena. And in that, we got exposed to a lot of the process and the people and all that stuff, and learned a bunch. And we ran our campaign, and we stood by our values and morals, and we could have compromised in a few places and potentially found success at the ballot box. There were some efforts to maneuver us around and maybe move us to another district for that election cycle. And we said that, no, this is our community. This is who we want to represent. So we're going to go. In that process, we really attacked the machine, right? A Senate race usually isn't your first campaign, right? There were 1 million people in the district, so it's by population, it's bigger than a U.S. congressional seat. It's a big race, and we ran hard, and we had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot about us. But frankly, had we won, our life would have been hard. I imagine tragic at times, right? We weren't ready, and I wasn't mature enough, frankly. And so I think it was divine providence and protection to not have us win.
So what's your biggest takeaway from that season?
Well, when you're asking people for money, you find out who your friends are real fast.
Oh,
right. And, and you also find out where people are on ideological lines really quick. And so that was informative, inspiring in some cases, and very hurtful in others. There are some people who, sort of like the woman at church who gives 2 copper pennies, right? And Jesus says she gave more than everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So we had moments like that where people, went way over and above their financial capacity as I would understand it to support us. And then there are some people who had massive means who wouldn't give us $1.
Wow.
Like, you're like, dude, I just one single dollar just to, show the support. And they're like, no. And you're like, okay. So, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's great. I love it. I almost had a follow-up, but I'm gonna leave it on that. But I want to move into a lightning round question.
Okay.
So I want you, take a drink of
all
your
right.
coffee.
I'm thinking something like there's a Bravo show where they do like little votes or whatever. They stick up, I don't know. I'm seeing something like that.
Nobody's going to vote you off the island or vote you off the table here or anything like that. Lightning round. I'm just going to ask you a quick question. I want you to just right off the top of your head.
Okay.
Best meal you've ever had?
Steak.
Give me a more specific. Like, where was it? What? You've probably had steak more than once in your life.
Probably one from my son Harrison. He has just turned into an amazing grill master. He made. We were at the lake the other day, and he took all these spices out of the spice rack and poured them on the counter and got out the rolling pin, and he was crushing and grinding spices together, then repackaged it. And so we now have 3 bottles of his specific spice seasoning for steaks.
And how old is he?
He just turned 11.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. Okay, favorite band or artist?
Guns N' Roses.
Heck yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is funny. Oh, no, I was about to quote a Bon Jovi line. Never mind. Dead or alive? Who would you have dinner with?
Well, Dead or Alive was a song that Christy and I danced to in our Dances for the Stars.
Dances for the Stars, what's that?
So there's our Rotary Club in Colleyville does a fundraiser. And so it's like the TV show kind of, but it's a charitable event. So she and I competed, and that was our song.
I bet you guys were amazing.
It was amazing. She looked really hot, really hot. What was the question?
Dead or alive.
Who would I eat with?
Yeah. And don't say Jesus.
Yeah, no, he'd be up there. He'd be it. My dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
What would you talk to him about?
Just to hear what he thinks.
That's powerful. When's the last time you talked to him?
Well, he died probably 10 years ago. Yeah. So right about the time I retired from the Air Force. So, and then Mom had died 3 years earlier. So I think she died in 11 and he died in 14.
Wow.
So, but he just, he taught me so much and he gave so much, and he had a real servant's heart, and a student of history. He wanted to understand so as to not make mistakes, and had a super strong faith. And I wasn't always available for him as a man, as an adult. because I was always blazing a path and running full speed ahead, like just I missed opportunities to be a good son with him. And I know he's proud, and I know that he would love his grandkids, and he'd have so much fun. And we still use his phrases and stuff like that. I'm killing the lightning piece of this, aren't I? So my dad. All right, keep going.
It's okay. We got some good stuff. Man, that's great. So just to continue on this path, killing the lightning piece, what is one thing you learned from him? What do you think, if one thing that is part of your life now that you got from him, what is that?
He really had a lot of fun. He really did. He worked really hard. He always worked for the greater good. And he held people accountable for their greater good. And so I remember one time I hadn't been my best, and I got I'm disappointed in you. And that, like, I can still feel that in my heart right now, hearing him say that. And I think that, children just want to know that they made their parents proud, and I know we have, and I know that he would be so inspired by our his grandchildren and our marriage and our family and what we're creating and where we're going, and our commitment and our faith. I mean, I know all those things, but it still would be nice to hear it.
Yeah,
nice to have a hug.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Man, he sounds like an amazing man.
He was funny. There was he'd go deer hunting way, way, way out west in Nebraska, like right on the corner of Wyoming and South Dakota. And I think playing pool once, or maybe poker, he ends up with this old rancher's hat. And this hat looks like it had been stomped under 1,000 head of cattle. It had holes in it, and it smelled, and it was beat up. But he comes home with it, and it's a trophy, right? This hat is a trophy. And he would say, when you steal a man's hat, you steal his soul. And he would just howl at it. And he'd wave the hat over his head like a cowboy. And that hat hung in our house forever. And I actually gave it to my cousin after he passed.
Oh,
because he just loved that story.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a great. There's something about winning just a junky prize in a poker game that just, there's something,
or a t-shirt at a basketball game.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Do navigators, you were a navigator in the Air Force.
Yep.
Do navigators have call signs? And
we do.
So what was your call sign?
Slick.
Yeah. That is too good.
Yeah.
How did you get that?
Well, it was given to me.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. But what did you do? Somebody just,
I think slick grease.
Okay.
But I also always had an answer.
Yeah.
So I learned early how to use words as tools. And when I started getting backed in the corner at the weapons school, so the weapons school is the Air Force version of Top Gun. And as you're a student, it's a 6-month-long school, about 25 sorties. And it's plan a day, fly a day, debrief a day, kind of roughly is the pattern. There's some faster, some longer, but that's generally the pattern. And in the debrief, it's always, well, prove it to us. Show us the answer, whatever, right? Well, our classroom was unclassified. So you couldn't talk about classified information in the classroom. And so I developed a tactic that if I started getting cornered in a way I didn't want to be cornered, I would drive the conversation into a secret topic. So then the conversation had to stop because we'd have to go to the vault and check in and then have the conversation back there. And that wasn't going to happen because it would ruin the debrief. And so I would sort of slickly wiggle my way out of situations that I didn't want to be in. And then they kind of would get frustrated with me. But
thus the name Slick.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a good call sign. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Vienna. So it would have been Paris, but we went to Vienna 3 summers ago, maybe. I had a friend, dear friend, the Hackbars. He was the DAT, the defense attaché in Prague. So he was a senior U.S. defense official in Czechoslovakia. And so we were going to visit them. And so we went through Rome and then decided to stop off in Vienna for just a couple of days, like 3 days. And it was just amazing. It's really, the city was really like, when I imagine a European city, it's Vienna, right? It's beautiful, it's clean, it's all put together. The beautiful thing is that it's really close to Germany, and so it's really organized and stuff runs on time, and it's really, but it's also been part of the crossroads of Europe, and so the culinary opportunities are also very broad, right? There's a lot of Italian and some Greek and just different food there, and so we just loved Vienna.
Were you there with your wife?
Yeah, we took the whole family.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Anytime I travel, if I'm not with my wife, I'm not even interested in going most of the time. I just love taking the family. You suddenly have the day off. What are you going to do?
Well, I had it all week last week when I was sick. I just had to surrender when I was sick, and that was hard to do and let my mind settle. But a day off and I'm healthy, sleep, absolutely sleep in, which is also when I get sabbaticals that usually the first half of the day is sleep. I think we run ourselves ragged. I know I do at times. And so certainly sleep. And then I likely get to my honey-do list around the house a little bit and clean stuff up there. So.
Okay, morning person or night owl?
Transitioning. So our alarm goes off at 5 now. Occasionally I'll wake up about 4:30 and then I just stay up. If I'm up at 4:30 or later, I just stay up now. I can do night owl. I still like to do night owl, but the kids just demand us to get up, and so.
I always say I'm a night owl trapped in a morning person's body.
Well, that's a gift. That's a gift. If your natural tendency is to get up, then do it. But we'll sleep when we're dead.
Okay, good. All right, last question. If you won the lottery, what would you do with the money?
Interesting. I just bought a ticket for the $965 million lottery yesterday, and I said God gets the first $400 million. Now, that math may seem weird, but I'm adjusting for taking the cash payout and the taxes. So I think it's going to be about $400 million.
Yeah,
so when we win it, we're going to give it all away.
You're not going to win it because I also have a ticket, and
well, we can split it. We'll go 200 each.
All right, that'll work.
Yeah, that'll work. Then I'll have to give it all away anyways. It's less than 400.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun, man. Thank you, Gabriel, for having me. And that's, I ran all the way down my list of questions and had a great time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate you being here. This was good for me. It was fun. I hope for the audience that you guys got a little bit more of a sense of me and certainly got introduced to Daniel. I'm sure we'll have him back for additional conversations in the future. But I wanted this opportunity to just let you all know a little bit more about who I am and where I've come from, so that you have that lens or that filter to take anything you hear from the Navigating Leaders podcast or any of our products or services to filter it through. And I think it's good to understand who you're listening to, right? And so as a cautionary tale, be careful who you listen to in life. And hopefully what you've heard here and what you'll hear here in the future will provide great value to you, because that's what we're doing here. And so with that, I'm Gabriel Greiss, your host of the Navigating Leader podcast. Please share this. Please like it. Text it to anybody you know that would have impact with this. Start or save it in case you want to come back to it and listen. But we're all on our own journey. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. None of us are getting out of this alive. So have fun. Breathe in everything that God's put in front of you, because it is a beautiful and a glorious day made specifically for you. And there's an adventure right around the corner. And so until next time, thank you for listening to Navigating Leaders. Be well and God bless.